You can't make fun of my numbers.
Numbers? What numbers?
When I start talking about how many books I have.
I've been worried about you for a long time.
At some point, my TBR stopped being exciting and started to feel more like an untouched collection of books. In 2026, I decided to do something about it by spending each month making sure that I read off of my physical TBR. Every month, I use a theme to read off my physical TBR, and this month, I have a special guest that is going to help me pick the books that I'm going to read for my vlog, for my monthly vlog. It's August, and the clock is ticking before school starts.
Yeah, soon. A couple weeks, isn't it?
Let's see, like 2.5 weeks. Okay, so let's review the numbers. In July, I started with 153 physical books on my TBR. I read 7 of those off of my shelves, but I added 15 more books. I don't normally buy that much in a month. I had birthday money left over. That's the excuse. The rest of the year is not going to look like that maybe until Christmas, and then it might look like that again. So this brings my total number of books to 161 books.
There could be worse things.
Okay, thank
and you
you.
have empty shelves over there.
I know, I just got new shelves I had to fill up. So this month's theme is to try to read as much as I can. So what we're gonna do, I picked a list of, I think it's about 10 books that are either under 300 pages, or I also went with an audiobook of 10 hours or less. Because, you know, sometimes their books are a lot of pages, but the audiobook is really fast. You know what I mean?
I
So
never understood that.
I use them both as criteria. And if you have like 300 Bible pages, that's like a whole other...
Yeah, it's tissue paper.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna show you the 10 books, and you have to pick 3 of them based off nothing but the cover.
Okay.
So you're gonna judge a book by its cover.
Okay.
Then, once you've picked your 3, you'll read the synopsis. Then you're gonna decide which one you think I'm gonna like the best. You're gonna try to rank them, essentially,
Okay.
from like best to
But you're still going to read the
Yes,
3?
I'm going to read all 3 of them. Oh, that's
Okay.
my rule. I have to at least read 30% before I decide if I'm going to DNF, and then I decide whether I'm going to keep it or get rid of it.
Okay.
That's part of it. I've only DNF'd 1 book in this entire series so far, and that was the one that I DNF'd last month. Okay, so let's see what books I'm reading this month. Oof. Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory. I always have to look at that one while I'm saying the title. By Raphael Bob Waksberg. Don't read too much.
Okay.
Purely the cover. That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. The Geographer's Map to Romance by India Holton. The Caretaker by Marcus Cleaver, not Kluwer, as you might think it is. Apparently it's German. Starter Villain by John Scalzi.
Oh, we're just keeping that one.
The Library at Hellebore by Cassandra Khaw. Is that a fig? I thought it was a fig. I need your professional opinion. Like, I know those are flowers, but that's a fig, right? And don't wasps like figs? Isn't that like a thing? Don't they lay eggs in them or something weird like that? Okay.
I suppose it could be, yeah.
Thought you'd be more professional than that. Japanese Gothic by Kylie Lee Baker. Julie Chan is Dead by Leanne Zong. I think it's Leanne Zong.
Zhang?
Oh, it could be Zhang. And then A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sango Mandana. So you have to pick 3.
Just based on the cover?
Based on the cover. You can't read the synopsis
Definitely
yet.
the dressed up kitty.
Okay. I kind of thought that was going to make the cut.
The Library at Hellebore. Well, this one's just too funny.
Okay.
I chose the Starter Villain because of the cute cat dressed up like a villain.
I figured that would be.
Because it's so rare when cats are villains.
Are you kidding?
The Library at Hellebore, because we can't decide whether that's a fig or a flower. And this one, That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon, which this is just like the atypical...
Bodice ripper?
Yeah, yeah.
Except he has horns. I'm going to tell you what they're about. I'll read you the synopsis.
Okay.
I don't know if I'll read all of it. You can read more of it if you want. I feel like the title says it all for this one. Spice trader Cinnamon's quiet life is turned upside down when she ends up on a quest with a fiery demon in this irreverently quirky rom-com fantasy that is sweet, steamy, and funny as hell. Okay, so the Library at Hellebore. The Hellebore Technical Institute for the Gifted is the premier academy for the dangerously powerful. The Antichrists and Death Workers, the World Eaters, and Apocalypse Makers. Hellebore promises redemption, acceptance, and a normal life after graduation. At least that's what Alessa Lee is told after she's kidnapped and forcibly enrolled. But the Institute is more than just a haven for monsters. On graduation day, the faculty embark on a ravenous vicious rampage, feasting on their students. Okay, what do you think this one's about?
Starter villain, meet the new boss. I think it's about somebody who adopts a cat that turns into the villain.
Oh, that would be cute. It's close, but not quite. Inheriting your uncle's supervillain business is more complicated than you might think, particularly when you discover who's running the place. That's all I'm going to tell you. Well, maybe. We'll find out.
Okay.
All right, so if you had to rank them.
I have a feeling you're going to like this one a lot.
Do you think that's top?
I think that's top because it's academia.
Okay, dark academia.
Dark academia. I'm having a hard time, but I know you like these. I'm gonna pick this one because you're also like the superheroes and the Marvel thing.
It's got a little bit of humor to it.
Yeah, the starter villain, and I think lastly, the time I got drunk and saved a demon.
Okay,
That's
I know.
Just too funny.
I've only ever read a short story by John Scalzi. I've never read anything else by any of these people. I have no idea. Okay. But they're very different. We've got I've heard this is a gory.
Keep us surprised.
A gory horror.
Oh, well, yeah, it sounded like if they're going to devour all their students, why put all that work
And look at how, this is so small. The short story I read by John Scalzi it was witty, but also not campy. And I was really excited to read some more by him. And then Kimberly Lemming, there's a whole series. It's called The Mead Mishaps, I think is what they're called. From what I've heard with her books, she is not taking herself seriously. It's like a unique type of romance. Okay, these are the 3 books that I'm going to read. Hopefully I can do it really quick before school starts.
1, 2, 3, 4. And the jaybird singing something about the way things used to be. Now I'm dancing on a wire like a cheap paper tiger, strumming on a heartstring stereo to a song that no one knows, and it goes like this. Hey, hey, yeah, said it goes like this. Say la vie or don't ask me, 'cause it goes like this. Yeah. So I pack my bags and I'm on my way. And all my friends are upside down, but I get around okay.
I think there's enough charge on my battery for this. I thought I would give you a quick check-in on the library at Hellebore. I'm roughly 50%. This is going very quickly. It's 276 pages, so it is not super long. Our main character, Alessa, is, we're gonna say, kidnapped and taken to Hellebore, which is called, it's like the Hellebore Technical Institute. It sounds like a school or a university for monsters. The narration goes back and forth in time. The titles are either before or day 1, day 2. I'm assuming there's gonna be a day 3. So you're not hearing the story consecutively. Alessa was kidnapped, taken to Hellebore. She knows about Hellebore. This is a world where magic is real, and Hellebore is one of numerous universities or schools that are for students that are monsters. You hear about what Alessa did when she was young, and it's pretty gory, pretty horrific. And you hear about various students in Hellebore throughout the timeline. The current time, the day 1, day 2, is supposed to be graduation day. And on graduation day, the students at Hellebore find out they get locked in a library and the teachers are trying to kill them. That's kind of all you really need to know. That's what the whole plot is about. The current timeline, I believe there's 7 or 8, I think there's 8 students that have survived to the library. I don't really know if there's ever been a number to start. I don't know how many students were enrolled to begin with. You know that students die throughout the year. They kind of kill each other. None of them have died from the teachers that I'm aware of, but that's kind of implied that they die. And because all of these students are monsters, they don't even like think twice about it. They're just kind of like, oh, okay. A lot of them have been spending their entire lives doing what they can to survive. And a lot of times that means going under the radar, not getting too close to people. And so that's kind of how they are with each other. I really liked the intro. I wasn't planning on annotating this, but there ended up being a lot of lines that popped up that I felt like underlining and highlighting. Definitely a lot of words I've had to look up. Some of them are anatomical. I haven't really had to look up any of those, but I don't think, unless you had an interest in anatomy or something like that, there's some of these words that you would know. And then some of them have also been torture devices and instruments of pain and things like that I had to look up. But there's also just like vocabulary words I've never heard before. So I always make sure that I write those in my book, like I write them off to the side so I'm more likely to remember them. As gory and horrific as it is, Cassandra Khaw does not hold back details on gore. It's also humorous and quippy. I would say more quippy than anything. It's not intentionally humorous. Our main character is very glib and blunt. Like I said, a lot of I keep wanting to call them kids. They're not kids. They're adults. They're like anywhere from 18 to 25 and older. Anyway, they don't really get close to people and they do what they need to get by. And so that usually means they're kind of standoffish. Some of them do have significant others, but they're all very cautious of each other. Our main character is like that to the nth degree. A lot of the students in the school came voluntarily. They were told it was a way to make advancements and get by in the world. And, you know, they've been told all of these wonderful things about the university. Alessa wanted nothing to do with that, but she still was kidnapped and conscripted, if you will. And so she wants really hard to get away. There have been some social statements about interactions between men and women. There's been social statements about belief in science. When she talks about believing in magic, she's like, look, I think we all know magic is real, but we also know that there's people that don't believe in this aspect of science, so let's be clear that magic is real. So there's been funny things like that in the writing that I've enjoyed. I don't want to say worried. We are finding out about these monster students as the book goes on. At this point, we really only know, we know what Alessa is or does, like what her monstrous acts are. And there's, I think, 2 other characters, 2.5. There's one that I have a general idea of what he is, though we know what they are. So we are figuring it out as we go. That did, however, make the first half a little confusing because there's a part of me that's like, well, I want to know what they are to begin with, like why we should be afraid of them, how they're going to help her, how they're going to help each other, etc. But we are figuring it out. I think this is a book that you have to get to the end to really fully understand what's going on. It's a very simple plot, which I think is why she gets away with not writing so much. Oh, there is also a little bit of a mystery. It's actually a really good first line. At least I think it's a really good first line. When I woke up, my roommate Joanna was dead. That's the first line. And you know that Alessa did it, that Alessa killed her. This was before graduation. And you don't know why. And she kind of has to keep it a secret. So in addition to knowing if they're going to make it or who is going to make it out of this library, I also want to know why she killed her roommate. You are learning about her relationship with her roommate throughout the book. You're learning about her relationship with some of these other students that she's stuck with and that she's gotten to know. But I think it's pretty simple and straightforward in that regard. I haven't really gotten any big overarching themes. It's a really quick read. I'm enjoying it. Like I said, it's got enough wit and humor to keep me interested. It's got intrigue to keep me interested. And so I think I'll finish this shortly.
Around okay. Now I'm dancing on a tightrope. Oh, like some silly little psycho. Only one way out of this two-lane town. And around we go. And it goes like this. Oh yes, and it goes like this. Say la vie, oh don't ask me, 'cause it goes like this. Oh, 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 oh. Da 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 da. Say la vie, oh don't
to sit on this for a minute before I give it a star rating. Honestly, I think I'm gonna have to do some Googling. Okay, so things I liked. Our main character is talking directly to us. It's kind of implied that you might be reading her journal. I forgot that that was how she set up the idea of telling us the magic is real, is she starts by saying, I'm gonna assume you're either a student at Hellebore or that you're part of the ministry, but maybe you're just some random person that found my journal. And I kind of forgot that. I wouldn't say that the rest of the book feels like that. At the end, in the last chapter, she does start talking to us again. The book continues to go back and forth in time. From an audiobook perspective, it was kind of annoying because there were no chapter titles. It wasn't like chapter 1, chapter 2. It just said either before, day 1, day 2, day 3, or after. And sometimes there would be multiple befores in a row, or it would go before day 1, before day 1. So going back and forth between the audiobook and the physical book, which is something that I do frequently, was difficult because I had to figure out where I was. It wasn't very straightforward, but that's neither here nor there. That's not how lots of people read books, so I understand that's not really something I should be complaining about. Anyway, the cool thing about going back and forth in time, you get to see characters over and over and over again, even after they die. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that lots of people die in this book. This book is very bloody, very gory. It's about monster students dying in a school. A character would die in the current time, but then you would go back in time and you would get to hear about them in a story, which was pretty cool. It allowed for you to understand characters as we went back and forth in time. Something would happen in the current times and then it would go to a previous time and we would learn more about it. So for example, the librarian in the current time, the librarian awakens, and then we go back in time and we hear a little story about our main character, Alessa, interacting with the librarian. Some things that I wish would have been explained more. You do ultimately understand what all of the, I think it's like 8 characters that are in the library. You do ultimately find out what all of them are or what makes them monsters. It wasn't super spelled out for all of them. It was clearly spelled out for, I would say, 4 of them. And then there were some that it was like heavily hinted at. More than that, probably. I'm probably misjudging my numbers here. But many of them were not given a name or a title of anything that I'm aware of, which is fine. I understand you can make up monsters. But because of that, I had a hard time visualizing some things, if that makes any sense. Like when they were turning into something or doing something, it kind of seemed like it came out of left field because I didn't know why it was happening. I mean, obviously I understood that it was because they were a monster and they had these abilities or whatever. I kind of wish I would have known a little bit more about them. I wish that some things had been spelled out more directly, but that's a me thing. There's definitely people that enjoy not being told everything. This is very much a story that shows and doesn't tell. There's not a lot of telling in this, if that makes any sense. There were lots of lines that I smirked at or giggled at that were just like commentary on humanity and on society that I thought was good. There were some plots that I felt like didn't connect with the overall story. So I mentioned there's a before and then there's the current time. And there were some plots in the before that I didn't fully understand why we were told those. I thought by the time I would get to the end, some of that would come together and would meet and would make sense. And I don't think that really happened, in my opinion. That's something that I think I'm going to do some Googling on. And then there was one character that I feel like there was supposed to be this big shocking reveal that when you found out what she was or who she was, it was supposed to be kind of like, oh man. But I never felt invested enough in that particular character to care to be shocked or surprised by this big reveal. I wanted to know more about our main character, and the ending is not very spelled out about our main character either. Similar to the reasons that I didn't like Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, there are aspects of this that I could have used some more pages on. It's 273 pages. I could have used even just like 30 more pages, I think. Not even that much more. I could have used a couple more pages, more blatant definitely spelling some things out for me or tying some things together a little bit better. I mentioned this is the first that I've read by her. I did really enjoy the writing style. I enjoyed her commentary. The gore did not bother me. I think I do okay with gore because I'm only going to visualize what I want to visualize. I felt similarly when I read Someone to Build a Nest In or Someone You Can Build a Nest In. I just wouldn't picture it super gory, if that makes any sense. Like when you're watching a horror movie, it's in your face. You can't unsee it. When you're reading it in a book, you can visualize as much as you want. I would definitely go kind of like, oh, when some things were described, but they didn't linger. They didn't like burn into my retina the way they do in movies. So the gore didn't bother me because I would just like visualize it and then let it go away. I think there's some things that I'm going to Google and see how people have interpreted. It is a book where I think a lot is left to your interpretation. And some people love that. I'm going to Google and see what some other people think. I almost feel like there are parts of this book that went over my head. Not in an eloquence way or in a descriptive prose way. I think there are just so many hints at things that you can interpret in different ways that I like something to be just a little bit more grounded. I don't mind a little bit of vagueness and nuance in books, but I do want it to feel like it has an ending or like I understood what was going on. And so there were parts of this that were a little too vague. I can see why I think this has like a pretty low 3 on Goodreads, and I can see why that is. It was really easy to read. I probably could have finished it last night, but I was pretty tired and I kept falling asleep, so I just had a little bit more to finish today. When I wrap up with my mom, that's when I'll kind of give my final rating of this book, because right now I think I just need to let it sit with me for a little bit. So if you like gore, if you like dark gothic, if you like witty main characters, witty dialogue with lots of hints of social commentary on how women are treated, on ignorance, on societal norms, on power, there's a lot of that in there that I did enjoy. But if you need a solid plot arc with things that come together, I don't think you're going to get that. But if you like nuance and vagueness and coming to your own conclusions, then you will probably like this, I think. I think that's where I'm going to leave that. I'll leave my star rating for later. Now that I've finished that, what do I want to read next? I think I kind of want to read the Kimberly Lemming, That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. I think it's going to be funny and totally out there and nothing like that. And that's kind of how I like to read things. Halfway. This is kind of reminding me of Assistant to the Villain, except I didn't really like Assistant to the Villain. What's reminding me of Assistant to the Villain is it's not really like heavy and deep in the world building, which is obviously not what I was expecting. It almost feels like you just took the real world and real world issues and slapped some fairy tale medieval coating on it to call it a fantasy, which is totally fine. If a book is not taking itself seriously and it's not trying to be more than that, then I'm okay with that. This book knows exactly what it is and it's not trying to be anything more than that. I think what frustrated me with Assistant to the Villain was I felt like the relationship between the two didn't go anywhere. It's a slow burn if you're into slow burns. Very, very, very slow burns. Then that book's more up your alley. This one I'm enjoying. I was afraid it was gonna feel like insta-love just based on what other people had said, or insta-lust even. I mean, there's a little bit of that, but I mean, again, I knew what I was going into. It hasn't felt like that to the point where we didn't have established characters or unestablished plot or anything like that. So let me tell you what it's about, because I don't think I told you anything earlier. We have our main character, Cinnamon. She's a spice trader. She kind of jokes about her name, about how her mom had a sense of humor. She's a brother named Chili, a brother named Cumin. She had a sister named Cherry. They are spice farmers in this town. Every 15 years, they have to send somebody off to take care of the demons. She doesn't know why it's every 15 years, but there's some sort of portal, and every 15 years, the goddess that protects the town requires that 2 humans or a certain number of humans go off and take care of this. And at first, you kind of think that Cinnamon might be the one that's doing it, but then you find out it's not her. It's actually some random chick named Priscilla that we don't even hear anything about. Cinnamon very much has tried to live under the radar. But of course, through a series of random events, she ends up helping this demon that has basically told her that everything she knows about her world is a lie, and she's not okay with that. She's doing something that will help everyone else in this world realize that they've been lied to by this goddess. It's under 300 pages. Yeah, I think it's 260 pages. Kimberly Lemming is not trying to make some epic fantasy here. It is very light and fluffy and easy to read and silly. There's a lot of funny interactions. Our main character has a lot of wit. She's not your woe is me type of maiden. At some point she wrestles an alligator. She finds the demon attractive, which, by the way, this is not what I visualize at all. I just don't feel like he was described that way, but he does have horns. Regardless, she does find him attractive, but she's freaked out. It's a demon. She's been told her whole life that demons are bad, but obviously throughout this book, we're gonna find out that everything she thinks is not what it seems. That's about all I feel like I really need to tell you. It's a fun time. It's making me giggle. It's not very deep in the world building. The character names are kind of funny. She has a friend named Brie who sells cheese, who makes and sells cheese, silly stuff like that. But it's not like everybody's names are like that. It's tongue in cheek. She kind of recognizes the fact that their parents were silly when they named them. Yeah, it's a fun time. It would definitely be a good vacation or beach read. I can't imagine I'm gonna have that many more thought-provoking thoughts by the end, but I'll let you know what I think. Finished That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. I don't know why, I don't know if this is just me. I don't like to start and end a book purely on audio. I like to at least read the first chapter physically and end physically in front of me. I don't know why. I think it comes from annotating. A lot is usually in that first chapter, and if I'm just listening to it audibly, then I'm like, oh crap, I gotta go back and like mark a bunch of that. But I didn't annotate this or anything like that. The ending physically, I have no idea why I do that. Is that just a me thing? Does anybody else do that? It's like the satisfaction of closing the book when you just end an audiobook and it tells you this has been a production of blah blah blah. I don't know, it just doesn't feel as satisfying. I'm sure my mom obviously would disagree because she doesn't read a lot physically. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I'm gonna start by saying that what I say might sound negative, but by no means is anything negative. I enjoyed this book for what it is. You go into a book like this, I should say, hopefully you go into a book like this knowing what you're getting, expecting what you're getting. I mean, this is your classic bodice ripper. I think that you go into this knowing what you're gonna get. I think I went with 3.5, which I usually, like when I was on a big contemporary romance kick, I didn't even rate them because they're like candy. They're so tropey. You read them for the people, you read them for the witty banter, you read them for the plot, but the plot in the sense of like, these two are gonna get together. How are they gonna get together? When I read romance books, I'm just looking for something interesting and unique that doesn't feel like anything else. I'm looking for something that doesn't skeeve me out or make me cringe when they say certain things. I'm looking for a couple that I can root for. I'm not necessarily looking for someone swoon-worthy or a main character that I can see myself in. I'm just looking to have a fun time, and that's exactly exactly what this is. It does have a plot, which I wasn't sure based on reviews that I had heard what type of plot this would have. I wouldn't say that it was heavy on the world building or lore or anything like that, but it does have a whole arc. So I mentioned earlier, in this book, our main character has just been told that the goddess that her town worships, that everything she knew is basically a lie, and then she is going on we'll call it a quest. She's going on a quest to basically tell other villages and to unearth this lie. And in total, she had to go to, it was 4 temples of this goddess to do something at the temples. I don't want to give too much away because the plot is it's really important in this book. So anyway, so she had to go to these 4 temples. At like 75%, she had only gone to 2 of them. And so I was like, is this going to continue in the other books? Like, I know this author has other books in this, I think it's Mead Mishaps is what it is, something like that. But then like right at the 75% mark, as they were traveling, something else happened and it sped up the last thing. So this is a whole complete story arc with a beginning, a middle, and an end. There was no 3rd act breakup, which is refreshing. That's pretty standard in a rom-com or in a romance book. There was none of that there. Our main character was fairly independent, strong-willed. She'd recently been broken up with or broke up with somebody. So she was mildly self-deprecating. I don't even know if I would call her self-deprecating. She was concerned about being adventurous and going out and doing all of these things, but she was more motivated by helping people and letting people know the truth than she was about her concern for like going out and potentially getting in danger. She does get rescued by her demon, but she also stands her own. She's good with a bow and arrow. So she's not some like annoying, self-deprecating, oh, woe is me main character, which is always nice. She's witty and funny. There was a little bit of banter between her and the main character, the male main character, the demon, but you're not coming here for a fantasy story. It wasn't insta-lusty or anything like that. Like, it definitely got spicy, but it waited. I think it was like 50% of the way through the book. It wasn't like instantly, which is always kind of nice. I didn't really feel a deep relationship. The intent was that they were forming like an actual relationship. They were really only together like a month, and that's just not how my brain works. And so I was kind of like, I don't know, whatever. So I didn't necessarily find that believable. Again, not what you come here for. If you are looking for a rom-com, this did what a rom-com does in less than 300 pages. It was entertaining. It was enjoyable. I'm not necessarily looking for romance books right now, or I should say I'm not necessarily looking for this type of romance book right now. So I may have rated this higher if that was the mood that I was in. I don't feel like I need to go out and buy the next one. If I were to come across that book in a little free library or at a really good price, or if I was in the mood, I would get it out from the library. I'm not gonna like run out and stock up on all the Kimberly Lemming Mead Mishap books or anything like that. I also wouldn't say no to reading other ones. I would say decent plot, easily readable. I laughed out loud a couple times or I giggled. Actually, I think I laughed more at side characters than I did at our main couple. I did laugh at the female main character a couple times. She was easily embarrassed, which in the situations that she was embarrassed in, I would have been embarrassed too. But I didn't like their actual relationship didn't really like, I wasn't like, oh yeah, come on, like I wasn't doing anything like that. It was a really easy read that was entertaining. And so now I'm actually really excited for Starter Villain. I read a short story by John Scalzi. It was in a series of short stories that were related to time travel. I had been interested in John Scalzi. I just hadn't bought anything of his. I hadn't picked it up, mostly because I wasn't quite sure if he was going to work for me, but I know that people really like Starter Villain. Finally, I read 3 days, 9 months, 27 years. And it was a short story about a man that ran a time travel vacation. Like if you could go on a time travel vacation, and he was the guy that hit the buttons before you went off on your time travel thing. That was my first experience with his writing, and I really enjoyed it. It gave me a good taste of his writing. And so that's when I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna buy Starter Villain, give it a try. I contemplated getting a special edition, but I like the one with the cat on it too. So I was like, why pay for a special edition when I can just get that one? one. So that's what I'm going to jump into next. And I will let you know when I'm about halfway. We got a couple more end of summer plans. We're going to go school shopping. This is the first year where my daughter gets to like pick out her own school supplies because she's going into middle school. I'm trying to get her psyched up for that. I loved school shopping. I don't know if that's the teacher in me or just the type A organizer in me, but we're going to go do that. We went to Cedar Point. We always take our daughter to Cedar Point around her birthday. We do like a little overnight trip there. You'll see some of that as kind of our end of summer stuff. I think I only have one more week. Oh no. Next week she starts practice, and so I have to start taking her to field hockey practice. I feel like I'm like frantically reading before my life is over, but I shouldn't think of it that way because I do enjoy being a teacher. Haircut yesterday, and my daughter said mine doesn't look any different. I think it does. Maybe you can see the difference. I mean, she cut off like 4 to 5 inches. Okay, I'm here for my halfway check-in of Starter Villain. I knew this was going to be funny, like a funny book. I'm not annotating like I would for a series or some epic high fantasy or something like that, or epic sci-fi, but there's a lot of like funny lines that I'm annotating. I now know why there's a cat. The cat is actually not the villain of the story. The cat is also a orange and white tabby. I feel very lied to by this picture. I don't know why they didn't just pick an orange and white tabby to put on the cover of the book, but whatever. Just based on the plot synopsis, I knew that this was going to be humorous. When it comes to humor in a book, you know, there's a fine line. When I read Mort, which is in Terry Pratchett's Discworld, it's the first in the Death series. I know that those are, well, number one, they're British humor, but it's also satirical, like very over-the-top satirical. I think sometimes in a book, too much humor distracts from the plot, or it just starts to feel like, where is this gonna go? With a book and a story, I need something that's gonna hold my interest. And so I was worried that this was gonna be all humor and no plot, which it's not at all. We have Charlie, who is the youngest in a family where he has some step siblings that are much older than him. I think he said his youngest brother was a teenager when he was born, and so he never really felt connected to them. They all had a different mother, and apparently his father divorced and remarried Charlie's mother, and that was kind of contentious. At this point, when our book starts, Charlie's father has already died. His mother died when he was young. He was a news reporter, like a business CNBC type of news reporter. I think he was a written journalist, and obviously people are not having physical newspapers delivered. It's more digital and online and television. And so he's currently living in his dad's house, the home that he grew up in. He's a substitute teacher because he doesn't have a job, not very much money in the bank, and he wants to buy this bar and take over this bar. Oh, he's also divorced. He was married, but is now divorced. So all of that happened like in the past. It's not something that has happened in this book. The book starts when he finds out that his uncle, his mom's brother, has died, and it was just mentioned in the news because his uncle was very well known for his parking garage businesses. And Charlie's like, oh, I know that name, but this is an uncle that has not been a part of his family. There was like a falling out around the time Charlie's mom died. At the funeral, his uncle and his dad kind of had words with each other, and then he never really heard from his uncle. He tried to make connections with him when he was a journalist. He tried to talk to him. When he got married, he invited him, but his uncle didn't show up. He sent him a gift or whatever. And so he doesn't really have any connection to his uncle. Somebody shows up and basically says, hey, your uncle wants you to be the person that welcomes people at his funeral, the representative for the family at the funeral. Charlie is a really nice guy. I kind of thought, I don't know why, but I thought from the description that he was going to be kind of like a bumbling idiot. I think because of how they described him taking over the business, but he's not. He takes in stray cats that he really cares for. He doesn't seem to be like bitter and resentful. He doesn't put up with crap. He doesn't put up with his siblings or anything like that. He doesn't let them walk all over him or anything. He wants to do right by his uncle. He tried to reach out to his uncle a lot, so he decides he's going to do this. And this is kind of a test to see what type of person Charlie is. He passes the test. Some crazy things happen at the funeral. When he goes home from the funeral, he sees somebody, a stranger in his house, and then his house explodes. That's kind of the beginning of Charlie getting wrapped up in this whole weird business that he didn't know his uncle had. He finds out that his uncle was a villain, but it's not really villainy like it is in the movies. It is all, I don't even know that I understand it, but it's all business venture. I'm going to come up with this technology, or I'm going to have somebody else come up with it, but then I'm going to sell it to you. It seems legal, but it's not legal, but there's a bunch of governments involved. And that's what kind of all of the villains in this book are. It's not like mobster putting a hit on people, although there are people trying to kill each other. Anyway, it's kind of complicated. Charlie understands it because he was a journalist in the business world, and so he reported on a lot of these businesses and he understands this type of stuff, but he definitely doesn't understand what the company does as a whole. In that regard, he's not like a bumbling idiot. He got thrown into the deep end, essentially. I was worried that the plot was gonna lull, but anytime it starts to do that, anytime I think it's just leaning into the silliness, we get another interesting plot point that keeps me reading, which is great. The villainy stuff, it reminds me of Austin Powers, where it's silly. I think in Austin Powers they had like laser sharks. If it's been a really long time since I've seen Austin Powers. This book has talking dolphins and genetically modified cats. And so it is really silly stuff, but then there is actual technology related to communications and satellite and spying that is talked about. I wouldn't say it's as campy as Austin Powers. Austin Powers was definitely more in the campy side. This has some genuine, I laugh out loud at a couple things. Charlie doesn't know. He does keep asking questions about like, why would my uncle leave this to me? Why did he care about me? He barely was a part of my life. And Morrison is the name of the woman that was kind of like his uncle's, it's not assistant, it's like his uncle's right-hand man. And she's the one that is like orienting him to the business and telling him all about this other side of the world that he didn't even realize existed. And she just keeps saying like, you were important to him. And there's a lot that Charlie doesn't know. He doesn't know why his dad wanted his uncle to have nothing to do with him. His mom died in an accident, but I feel like there's some suspicions there. Like, it just seems kind of suspicious that his mom died, and at that funeral, his dad was like, I don't want you a part of our life anymore. But his uncle kept an eye on Charlie and knew what was up with Charlie. And so there's that aspect of it that I want to know. So we have kind of like multiple plot lines that are keeping me interested. So that's where I'm at. I'll check in when I'm done. I'm in an area of the house I do not normally film in. It is one of the other few areas that has decent lighting, but all of my other usual spaces are occupied by other people, so we'll do what we can here. I wanted to make sure that I told you about Starter Villain, which I just finished. I really ended up enjoying this. There are aspects of this that will stick with me, not for anything like super highbrow or epic. It was just a silly, funny, good time. I think this would make a really good movie. It continued to make me giggle throughout. The ending had a bit of a twist that I didn't see coming, which was fun. The plot always kept me on my toes. Sometimes if there's too much humor and there's no plot, it's just not interesting. The plot did feel like in the middle, it kind of started, maybe it was a little past the middle. It was shortly after I checked in with you last time. There was kind of a lull where I was like, okay, where is this going? Is this just going to keep going in this cyclical pattern? And then it didn't. It like, as soon as it felt like that, by the end of that chapter or the next chapter, something happened that had me hooked again. The final, I'm not going to spoil anything. The ending, at first, I was kind of like, oh, that was not how I wanted it to end. But in actuality, by the time it was actually done, you know, by the time everything had wrapped up, I was satisfied. I was happy. I felt like it was very realistic to our main character. I mentioned that I was worried that Charlie's the main character, the one that is the starter villain that's inheriting the business. I mentioned that I thought he was going to be like oafish and bumbling, and he was not at all. He was actually very intelligent, and that worked in his favor for a lot of his dealings with other villainous people. It was nice to see. It kind of reminded me of like Carl from Dungeon Crawler Carl, where you know that, or you're hoping that something else is going on and that he's not just getting stuck in this trap or sucked into this web and the bad things are going to happen to him. And then all of a sudden he pulls some really smart thing out and you're like, oh, okay, good. He knew what was going on. For some reason, I would not say this is a comp title by any stretch of the imagination, but for some reason it kind of started to feel like Edward Ashton's Mickey 7 or Mickey 17, whatever you want to call it. Not in like plot, like that's obviously like a very sci-fi futuristic terraforming type of world, and that's not what this is at all, but kind of in the intense plot with humor and the character of Mickey in the book. He did know what was going on and he was witty and just kind of rolled with the punches. It wasn't exactly like Charlie. I liked Charlie better than I liked Mickey, but just the kind of humorous writing style, but with an action adventure-y type of plot. I don't know. That was just something that kept coming up in my head. This one was definitely my favorite of the three that I read. It was very readable, very enjoyable. You wanted to know what was going to happen next. You wanted to know how things were going to turn out for Charlie. You rooted for Charlie. The cats were adorable. I loved the cats. It's nothing that, you know, this is a book for the humor and the plot. We're not learning anything from this. It's just to have a good time. And that's kind of how I felt about all of them, about all of the books that I read this week. This is the one that is definitely my favorite though. So when I see my mom tomorrow, I will wrap up the whole experiment with her, and yeah, until then. I finished my books.
I'm impressed.
Thank you. It's been a week, I guess. I think I did.
Yeah.
I did all three in a week.
So I guess let's find out how we did.
Do you remember what your original ranking was?
I think the library at, is that what it is?
Yeah.
The library at Hellebore.
Hellebore.
And then I guessed the cat, didn't
Okay.
I? And then the romance novel.
Yeah, because I know you were
The
torn
demon
between
romance,
them.
Yeah.
This one, Starter Villain, was my favorite.
Was it?
Yeah, I gave this one 5 stars. I just finished this one yesterday, actually.
Oh, so the cat was the villain?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, the cat was the, you don't
Why
want
did you assume the cat was the villain? No.
Because everybody doesn't like cats.
No.
They don't trust them.
No, Charlie's the one that he's becoming a villain. It tells you he inherits his uncle's villain thing. He's the new boss. Is Charlie.
Okay.
But he has cats and he takes in stray cats. His cat is an orange and white tabby. This particular cat does not exist. I felt lied by the cover. But anyway, but they are genetically modified. Well, I guess genetically modified to be intelligent.
GMO cat? Okay.
The cats have been keeping an eye on him for his uncle is what it is. So the cats are important, but they're not evil villains.
Okay.
So I had a little bit of a Princess Donut vibe. And then honestly, these two, they're very, very different. I think I technically gave this 3.75 and I gave this 3.5. I don't usually rank romance books unless they really like blow me out of the water or something like that. These were about the same, I would say. This one I could go down. I think in hindsight, I will probably go down. So it's got a bookmark in it because I'm making my husband read it because I want to know if he understands it. This either needed more or it went over my head. I did some Googling to see if some things made sense. And so that's why I think it could go up or down. Like if he reads it and explains some things to me, or like the internet explains some things, then it could go up. So these were about the same.
Now, I did want to mention the wasp and the fig on the front cover. We learned that wasps and figs have a symbiotic relationship.
Yes, except most of the figs that we eat are not the kinds that wasps lay their eggs in. So,
yes.
But in the Institute, the fig wasp is like their emblem, their logo. The beginning of every chapter has a wasp pictured in it somewhere. So it did have a minor role in the book.
Okay.
So.
Which book would you recommend to someone else?
So it's a tough one. I would recommend this one to you right off the bat, but it's an Audible book, so you're not, unless you get Audible, you're not going to be able to read this. Sorry. You would like this. There was something about this reminded me of Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton. Not in plot. It's not a sci-fi terraforming kind of book, but it was humorous, but had a plot, and the humor, the type of humor reminded me of that. The main character, he was an intelligent person, but also didn't know what was going on and like, you know, figuring it out as he went along, which I felt like Mickey was like in the book. So I would think this would be the one I would recommend to most people, but it also was Austin Powers villain kind of humor, campy, not quite as campy as Austin Powers. So in terms of like universally recommend, I think this one would hit more audiences. This one is the last one I would recommend to people. Oh yeah, this was very, very gory, incredibly gory, not very plot forward. It had some funny commentary and not humorous funny, but like social commentary. And then this one I would recommend to somebody who's looking for a silly good time with a romance book, you know. So, but that's a very specific kind of recommendation.
Are you going to keep any of them or unhaul them?
That's a good question. I'm going to keep this one for sure. I did like this one. This one, I could have gotten it from the library. I'm not going to like run out and get the other ones. If I can fit it on my shelves, I will. I have like all my romance books in one spot. So if I could fit it there, I will. This one, well, I'm going to keep until my husband's done reading The Library at Hellebore. And then I think I'm going to decide what to do. There were things I wasn't planning on annotating, and I annotated because I thought they were very poignant, but I also feel like some of it was so obscure or vague. So this one is the one that might be on the chopping block, but we're going to wait until my husband's done reading it first. So
they started doing that, I think, like with, was it called Survivors, where they all landed on the island in the plane crash?
Lost.
In Lost, they started, I think, this genre of series where, as a viewer, a lot of times I felt completely lost.
You watched Lost?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you watched. You must have watched it after the fact.
Well, and I mean, I went all the way through the end of it and enjoyed it up until the end, had it figured out way before.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and the writers came back and said, no, that's not it, because a lot of other people did, but it was.
Yeah.
Disappointed as most everybody was at the end, but I have seen so many other shows come on now that are playing that same template, and I just get so frustrated.
But I do feel like at least, I mean, I didn't watch Lost, but they at least told you by the end what was happening.
But not really. I mean, they didn't really explain. There's weird things going on the island, and all of a sudden there's a monster growling, and I mean, it was
so like
weird
they wouldn't
stuff
explain
was thrown
nuanced
in.
stuff.
Yeah.
But this isn't like that. I wouldn't say this is like that. There is a plot and things happen. So there's two timelines. There's before graduation and during graduation, because graduation's when they get locked in the library and the teachers are attacking them. And it goes back and forth, which is kind of cool. I mentioned this in my wrap up because characters that die in the present, you get to see more of them in the past storyline. And so I thought that by the end, the plot was going to, and it didn't. It just seemed like you had this plot and then you had this plot.
And they would never the two two met?
Not in a way that made sense to me. I was like, well, why did we even learn about this person and that person? Like, it never made sense in the present.
Okay.
So that's more of what I think, or it went over my head.
So did the challenge work out the way you expected it to?
I mean, the goal was to try to read as much as I could, and I read 3 books in
Yeah.
a week. I mean, in that regard, I'm probably not going to be able to read that many books in a week during the school year unless they're like
Right.
novellas or short stories. And I'm used to reading big 400, 500, 600 page
those
books.
are much smaller.
Yeah, but I've read contemporary literature and literary fiction that is poignant in not a lot of pages. I think these two will leave my brain in not very much time. Like, they didn't have enough depth that I will hold on to them. I wouldn't expect that from this, you know, from
Right.
But this needed more pages, in my opinion. That's kind of what I said about it. Starter Villain, it was really good in its small little package. Yeah. So I know it can be done. I purchased these books at some point and wanted to read them, so check.
Okay. Is there one of the books that you wished you'd spent more time with? Like, were you really plowing through to get it done?
No, because I'm not doing anything else. And so, you know, I would read when I would want to read. I do wonder if maybe I missed something by reading this so fast or by not annotating, because I didn't really want to go in annotating. I felt inspired too by some of the quotes and stuff like that, but I didn't like annotate characters or important plot points or anything. In hindsight, I wonder if that would have made the library at Hellebore different.
You don't want to like go back and redo it.
Right, exactly, yeah. I think these were good choices for that purpose.
Did any of them want you to continue reading the other books by the author?
Honestly, so I know Cassandra Khaw has written other horror books, and I did like the writing style, so I'm interested in her writing style. I want to read some more John Scalzi. I've read short stories by him, and so now I know, like, I want to read. Right. Although he said in the afterword in this that he kind of had COVID brain when he was writing this, and I've heard some people say that it's not quite like his other books, and that might have been why. So who knows there?
Maybe they're just better.
Maybe. Yeah, that's true. And then this one, I think I said in my wrap up, this is part of a series called Mead Mishaps.
Right.
And I think if I'm ever looking for a silly, unique romance to have a good time, I might get this from the library or find it cheap at half-price books or something like that. So I would read more from Kimberly Lemming. I know she has some short stories too that I could read.
So introduced to 3 new authors and liked them all.
Yeah, I guess they were all new to me.
So what will your reading goals be now that school is starting?
Yes, obviously significantly less time. I think during school, on average, I probably read 5 or 6 books a month. Obviously, it depends on the size of the book. From like an audio perspective, I always try to get through 2 hours of audio, whereas in the summer, I can usually get through like 4 hours of audio.
Okay, a day.
A day. But this school year is like I'm teaching an extra class, so I'm going to have more students, and I'm teaching a new grade, and so I have to learn that curriculum.
That's half of what you usually do.
Yeah.
You're going to be grumpy.
I don't think so. The hard part is going to be choosing to do work at home instead of choosing to read at home. And I'm going to try to set it up so I can read at home and not work at home so much. So
will you ever let me pick out your TBR again?
Yes, you usually do okay. So it's funny. I figured you would pick this one because why wouldn't you pick this one? As soon as I knew you would pick this one when I handed it to you, and you're like,
not
"Oh,
a crazy cat lady."
No,
but
I mean, but it's cute.
I
It's
have
adorable.
had a cat in my life since I was 4.
No, I
haven't
don't
gone
think
for
so.
a year without a cat in my life.
But I'm surprised you picked this one. Maybe I shouldn't have asked you the question about the fig and the wasps. But I mean, not that I regretted you picking this one, but I was surprised you picked it. I assumed you would pick Julie Chan is Dead, just because that's an interesting title.
Okay.
So that's the one. That's the third one I thought you would pick.
But you told me to pick based on the
That's
cover.
That's
so
true.
I was,
but the cover of that one is like a whole bunch of people that look exactly the same, except for like one person that looks different. So it does have an interest. I think
that's
it does,
funny now that I think about it. Maybe it was the blue edges of the pages.
Oh, you think the spreads got you?
The spreads.
They get people. They pick books out because of them.
It made it stand out.
Yeah. You can always pick my TBR. Well, maybe not always, but you can have some microscopic say in my TBR. Every once in a while, I do pick books and I'm like, oh, like this month, we're going to hopefully read Yesteryear, at least close together.
Yeah,
so,
I'm still waiting. It's coming. It's my next one.
I know, that's mine. Yeah, I'm going to push it till the end of the month so we can at least read it closer together.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's fun when we read one book together, even if we're not like officially buddy reading it.
Actually, the book I just read, the book I'm reading now, and that one are all books you'll have read. So, but it'll be good because then we can discuss actually what the book was
Exactly.
about. out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for my August read down my TBR. If you have any thoughts on these books, or if you just want to give us some recommendations from things that you read in August, let us know in the comments. If you want to be a silent listener and leave, we've already done a cat emoji. Is there a
Wasp?
bee
Is there a
emoji?
fo-
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a bee emoji.
Okay,
I don't
all
know
right.
if there's a wasp.
Leave us a bee emoji in the comments to let us know you were here. And like if you liked, subscribe if you want to. Next month for September, I'm going to do series September. So I'm going to look at all the unfinished series I have and probably just commit to reading one because most of my series are like
20.
fat tomes.
Yeah, yeah.
Subscribe so you don't miss that one. And until next time, happy reading. Oh, it doesn't clink as well.